Carmageddon.com/free.
Officials in Maryland say a 15-year-old student who was shot this afternoon during a dispute inside a high school bathroom has died. A suspect is in custody. Harford County Sheriff Jeff Geller says his department has a history with the 16-year-old.
We've had more than 10 incidents since 2022 where the suspect was either the victim, witness, or the suspect in an incident handled by the Harford County Sheriff's Office.
The sheriff adds he wants the suspect to be charged in this case as an adult. Oppressive heat is baking the West.
Even along the beaches, it's around 100 degrees where many from LA's valleys go to get some relief. In the valleys, it's around 113 degrees. Kyle Tomlin has a request.
If somebody can do something about the heat and turn it down a little, that would be great.
And Martha Naranjo from Mexico says she comes from a hot environment, but even this is too much.
Excessively hot. Whew.
Excessive heat warnings are now up through at least Monday. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The CDC's posted a food safety alert over an outbreak of salmonella infections linked to eggs. 65 people in 9 states have gotten sick. 24 have been hospitalized, but so far no deaths have been reported. Most of the sick people are from Wisconsin or Illinois. Missouri has reported its first case of bird flu. Health officials are still investigating how the patient who has recovered was infected. So far, there have been 14 cases of bird flu across the country. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
And for Bill Walter, I'm Will Feelright with your KBNU News Update, brought to you this hour by Cardall. Well, Utah experts in artificial intelligence said one of the benefits of this new technology that they're most excited about is how it could provide a personalized tutor to every single child and revolutionize education. Now, there have been fears and examples of AI bringing an increase in cheating and digital plagiarism into schools, but there are those who see a much brighter forecast for the future of this technology. Zach Boyd, who runs Utah's Office of Artificial Intelligence, pointed to this benefit for students as one of the promises of AI that he's most excited to see. He believes that AI tutors will soon come that will be able to skillfully adapt to the needs of individual kids. Now, regardless of serious concerns that parents or policymakers may have about the implications and use of AI in schools, officials believe that trying to keep kids from using AI today could leave them unprepared for tomorrow. Well, coming up in just a minute, a new scam is circulating on social media that could tug at your heartstrings. I'll tell you about it in just a minute as we check your weather forecast, calling for clear skies to continue through the rest of the afternoon. As we've been in the high 80s today. Tonight we'll drop into the mid to low 50s, and then more sunny weather for tomorrow as we'll be into the low 90s, and then back into the high 80s for Sunday to finish off the weekend. Could see a small chance of some rain Sunday night into Monday. Still, Monday expected to be mostly sunny with temperatures around 87, and then increasing chance of rain beginning Tuesday and continuing for much of the rest of next week. Well, it's considered a bait-and-switch social media scam, and it's resurfaced again in Utah and across the country. It starts out with a social media post that is designed to garner a lot of likes and shares. Users in St. George noticed a post that happened earlier this month. It featured a child with apparent bruises on his face. Now, the caption explained how a little boy around 3 years old had reportedly been found the night before around St. George and that a deputy had saved him and taken him to the police department. However, upon further review, that police officer doesn't exist, and the post actually is identical to several others around the country. But what happens is, after the original post is made, it's then edited into an advertisement for a rental home. And the new post includes a link to a website imitating the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Now, Melanie Fox of the Better Business Bureau said that the next step of the scam is usually a prompt to gather personal or financial information that scammers can then use to steal your money. And a man died after a rollover crash while fleeing along Highway US 6 in Carbon County earlier this week. Officials said a trooper had stopped a Dodge Charger on eastbound US 6 Wednesday afternoon. It wasn't specified why the car was stopped, but after the interaction, the trooper suspected the driver was under the influence and asked the 39-year-old man to step out of the vehicle. Now, he refused and took off, at which point a pursuit ensued and lasted about 14 miles before that car lost control, went off the road, and rolled. The driver was ejected and later pronounced dead at the scene. You can get more on these and other stories at CashValleyDaily.com. In for Bill Walter, I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. The For the People Show coming up next.
Fall is the perfect time to landscape, and Canyon Landscaping is ready to build or transform your outdoor space. They bring your vision to life with expert care, including installing beautiful planting beds and crafting custom paver patios. They handle your entire project from start to finish, and they have the team to get the design just right. But hurry, spots are filling up fast. Visit canyonlandscaping.com or call 752-3838 today. Let's make your outdoor space a true extension of your home. Call Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Sean Hannity from 1 till 4 on News Talk KVNU 102 FM and 610 AM.
Whether you weld it, drill it, or bolt it, whatever type of metal project you're working on, make sure you buy your metal products from Palmer's Metal Mart. With locations in Lehigh and Logan, you are never too far from amazing deals on all types of metal products. Steel tubing and pipe, metal roofing and siding, rebar, angle iron, sheet metal, aluminum, and stainless steel. You will love the selection and price at Palmer's Metal Mart. For over 31 years, Palmer's Metal Mart has been the source for metal projects big or small. Get into Palmer's Metal Mart today and take advantage of all the amazing deals this spring. Huge discounts on tubing and pipe, 15% discount on all in-stock metal roofing panels. You will love the selection. If you can't haul what you need, let Metal Mart deliver your product to you. We could give you our phone number now, but do you really have a pen and paper handy? So, look us up. Palmer's Metal Mart in Lehigh and Logan. Everyone's metal store. See you soon.
Utah's at a crossroads. The surging economy of the last decade is not today's reality. Cache Valley is feeling the effects of rising housing costs, stagnant wages, and skyrocketing energy prices. This is not acceptable, and I know we can do better. I'm Jason Thompson, and as a successful business owner, proven job creator, and experienced city mayor, I know what it takes to ensure that Utah is heading in the right direction. But I can't do it alone. I need your vote this November. At electjasonThompson.com, learn how together we can keep Utah heading in the right direction.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Jason Thompson.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Friday, September 6th. Got a couple of packed weekends here in Cache Valley. I hope everyone's put the Ignite the Light event on their calendar for tomorrow, 4 to 10 at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Music, a pretty decent country artist this year, and one that you won't regret seeing. Very talented young man. And guest speaker that will make you laugh. This is all a fun festival environment centered around a topic normally not associated with fun and festival, which is suicide prevention. The goal of Ignite the Light, and the reason the county has done this 4 years in a row, is, the statistics here in northern Utah are not pretty. especially among teens and middle-aged men. And the goal of Ignite the Light is to get people out having fun and expose them to education and resources via the vendors and booths that will be there, food trucks as well for food and refreshments, games, prizes, things like that. Again, not normally things you associate with suicide prevention, but that's the point, to get people talking and thinking about it, mental health in general, in a different way. Just talking about it at all really would be probably a big step in prevention. So, and a reminder, of course, we talked about this on Wednesday. There is a 911 type mental health hotline in the United States now, an idea that originated here in Utah with State Senator Dan Thatcher. That number is 988. Very easy to remember. Spread the word on that. Dan Thatcher, state senator, wanted to make that a thing here in Utah, and then United States Senator Orrin Hatch caught wind of it and said, State Senator, you're thinking too small. This needs to be a national thing, and they made it happen. It took a couple of years, but 988 is now a thing. So the following weekend, a week from this Saturday on the 14th, the Latino Festival. I'm starting out with this not just to promote these events. You know, of course, we're involved as sponsors of Ignite the Light, the Cache Valley Media Group, and the Latino Festival. But I point this out because I hammer on this every year ahead of the Latino Festival, and I want to see more of this. But if you want an example of what downtown, now you can go see this happen now on a regular basis in Salt Lake or Ogden at times. But if you want to see an example of what downtown Logan can really be, now that the Lob Plaza is done, now that there's some housing nearby, and this has attracted a lot of new businesses and restaurants and things like that to downtown. There's, of course, the theater district, as we call it, with something going on there almost every night in those theaters, from the Eccles to the Lyric and the Utah, and occasionally the Don Santa building. But if you want to see what downtown Logan can be, the Latino Festival is the best example, because they close Center Street. It sounds like such a minor thing, but I want to see more of this. I want to see it in the smaller towns too. Now, obviously, it gets a little bit harder. Which street do you close in Mendon? Which street do you close in? Well, actually, I know which street you close in Wellsville and Hiram and Providence. I've already thought about this. River Heights, Hyde Park, things like that. Maybe it's not necessary to close the street, but there is something about creating that space when they close Center Street from Main Street to First West for the Latino Festival and turn it into a food truck parking lot, a vendor booth parking lot, and a dance floor. That usually starts around the time the sun goes down, and usually goes, I think, a good hour after when they're really supposed to shut down. But this is a very family-friendly environment. The music is loud and fun. The food is great. The vendors are fun. A lot of cool stuff you can pick up there, similar to a Summerfest or a county fair type thing. But it's all happening on Center Street because they closed the road. And I don't know, I get excited about this every year. I think that more of that in Logan City. A little while ago, I had a chance to go down. It was during the pandemic, and Salt Lake had closed a certain stretch of Main Street in Salt Lake to create outdoor space so people could still come down and not be uncomfortable, packed into a restaurant in the middle of a viral pandemic. They could be outside. They could take their masks off. They could enjoy the sunshine, and even went into the fall, the cool fall temperatures, and it was packed. I mean, nothing special was going on. People were there eating at J-Dog's and some of the other restaurants in downtown Salt Lake on Main Street, but it looked like a full-on festival was going on. We need to, I think about some of the things that have become just accepted ways of life for us. I am definitely not on board with, there's kind of an anti-car movement in the United States right now. Not on board. In some areas, sure, I get it. It makes sense. If I lived in New York City or actually, Rhode Island when I visited there, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Vegas, even maybe Boise and Salt Lake, if I lived in those cities, I would probably, if I lived and worked in those cities, I would probably be voluntarily car-free all week long. I I'm not opposed to a little bit of inconvenience to use public transit. It's good for the planet, but selfishly, and more importantly to me almost, it's easier, it's stress-free. I don't have to park or pay for parking. I don't have to deal with a potential fender bender accident in the middle of a lunch break when I have a busy day at work already. So if I lived in one of those areas, I would voluntarily be car-free. I would still own a car, because most of what I want to do on the weekends is going to require going to the mountains, and you need a car or a truck for that, right? So I'd still own a car, but during my work week, Monday through Friday, and the weekends when I'm at home, doing adult stuff like laundry, I would probably not even start the car. And by the way, if you've ever been to New York City, I don't know why anyone who lives on the island of Manhattan owns a car. Just an extra expense and inconvenience that is never really going to serve you well. But here in northern Utah, it's a different scenario. So I'm not on board with the whole push to go car free, but I am on board. I listened to a book recently about our car centered society, and the author really, using a lot of research that's been done, some statistics that are widely available in public, makes a case that there's some room to rethink this, but in more subtle ways. Not going, anti-car, as again, there's kind of a movement for that in the United States right now. Not on board, but rethinking the car-centered city design. How important are those 3 parking spots in front of your storefront if you're a business owner? As opposed to a street that is blocked off permanently to cars and is drawing more foot traffic. Are you going to get more business as a business owner if you sacrifice those 3 parking spots in front of your store for 25 people on foot? Yes. Parking lots in general. A study was done on this recently in Utah, and the number of acres in Utah in general, along the Wasatch Front, Salt Lake, and Cache Valley is where they looked. I think Provo too, maybe. Anyway, they took a look at this, and the number of acres of what's basically subsidized, the taxpayer subsidized parking spaces for car drivers, it's through the roof, hundreds of thousands of acres. That could be something else, that could be businesses, that could be open space, that could be... Now, again, you have to balance, because if you go too far, for example, if you made it difficult for people to drive cars in northern Utah right now, in Cache Valley or Box Elder County, if cities start designing their downtowns too much away from cars, people are just going to go elsewhere, because most people are still in cars. So... I'm not saying we need to go there. And if we ever do go there, it's probably 20, 30 years away from now when things get a lot more crowded around here. It'll probably happen naturally. But I do think cities need to start thinking about this now, start thinking about the fact that downtowns downtowns need to become more pedestrian oriented. We need to rethink things like parking lots. How many do you need in your downtown? Those are acres that could go to commercial space, that could go to open space, that could go to plazas like the Lob Plaza for people to congregate and have events and have fun and also spend money while they're doing that. It's a balance. But the book, I've linked to it on our Facebook page, is a fascinating read. I just finished it this week, and it just challenges this idea, not necessarily suggesting that we should set car-free as a target. Again, I'm not a supporter. I like I say, in the summertime, spring and fall too, my car is essential to me, my truck specifically, because there are some things I like to do that you can't take a bus to. And my job also, it's hectic, and I mean, it would be really difficult, actually impossible for me to plan my day in the day job around a bus schedule because it's too unpredictable. Not everyone's in that situation, understandably. And there are a lot of people, as Logan continues to grow, as Cache Valley continues to grow, who are going to be okay using buses or bikes for their daily work week, Monday through Friday. And we need, I think, to wrap our heads around designing our cities, planning our cities in master plans and more for more of that. It's going to happen naturally. Whether we like it or not, Cache Valley is going to get a lot more crowded over the next 25 years. So it'll happen naturally, but I think planning for it needs to happen now. And I think we should start looking at these, parking lots as wasted space, at least as equally as we look at them as useful space. Check it out. I've linked to the book on our Facebook page. I just finished it yesterday on a long drive, and it's a fascinating challenge, I guess, to the status quo when it comes to cars and travel and transportation. And there's a portion of the book that gets into the transportation funding, how it could change as we shift and get a little more mixed in the way we think of planning our downtowns and our highways and more. It's really fascinating, and it made me think. It probably will for you as well. Check it out. Link on the Facebook page. It's a free book, and I enjoyed it myself. It's, like I say, fun to sometimes realize that the way you've always thought about something, that there's another way to think about it, even if you're not fully on board. So link on the Facebook page. On the other side, the school shootings are difficult for me to talk about because there's nothing new to say, and that's actually horrifying. So we don't talk about them on the show a lot. But there's a development in this tragic shooting out of Georgia recently, the Georgia high school shooting, in which the 54-year-old father of the 14-year-old alleged shooting suspect is going to be charged with murders. We'll talk about the potential ramifications of all of this right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Get ready for the 2024 Top of Utah Parade of Homes, presented by Willow Lakes. Explore stunning custom-built homes, showcasing exquisite design and architecture. September 12th through the 14th and the 19th through the 21st. Platinum sponsors Burton Lumber and Remax Peaks invite you to experience Cache Valley and Bear Lake's finest living. Mark your calendars to be inspired by these beautiful homes. Get tickets at Bank of Utah and USU Credit Union or online at topofutahparadeofhomes.com. That's topofutahparadeofhomes.com.
September is National Honey Month, and to celebrate, Cox Honeyland has local Cache Valley honey on sale. Bring in your own jar to refill or snag one of their 12-pound or 24-pound containers. It's also time to make room for fall merchandise. Their fall-summer clearance sale at Cox Honeyland is underway. Save up to 50% off all summer merchandise, including the spinners. Their fun gift store is full of decor, treats, and more. That's Cox Honeyland and Gifts, 1780 South, Highway 89, Logan.
The Maloof Warehouse Sale is back and better than ever. September 5th, 6th, and 7th. You can shop their warehouse sale online at maloofsale.com. No crowds, no traffic, just incredible savings on sofas and sectionals, mattresses, dining sheets, pillows, outdoor furniture, and more. Huge discounts of 70, 80, even 90% off. Shop online starting at 7 a.m. September 5th at maloofsale.com. That's MALOUFSALE.com. All sales final. Pickup will be at Maloof approximately 3 weeks after order. Orders cannot be shipped to personal addresses.
The Aggies are heading to USC to face the Trojans Saturday afternoon.
The Nate Dreiling era at Utah State begins with a W.
KVNU is your home for the best game coverage with pregame at 7, kickoff at 9, and postgame and Aggie call immediately after the game. It's the Aggies and the Trojans.
We're going to have a chance. If we continue to fight, it's going to be a fun season. So we'll see you in L.A. Looking forward to it.
Saturday on News Talk KVNU, the heritage home for the Aggies.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I almost feel guilty about the fact that, here on the show, where we're focused on local issues, we, occasionally there's a national story that's just got everybody's attention, and it's something we discuss or at least bring up and ask listeners to weigh in on. And I don't really do that anymore with school shootings. And one of the reasons is tragic, really, and it's the fact that there is nothing new to say. And that horrifies me. That actually makes me worry very much for where we're at in this country. If kids getting gunned down at school no longer even stands out. It's just another news story that kind of in one ear and out the other. I don't think we should accept that as the way of life in the United States. What we do about it, is a whole debate that we need to have, and the problem is we never have it because it's always too soon to talk about it until it's too late because another one's just happened, and then it's too soon again. And our political leaders are broken on this issue for various reasons. So I don't talk about it, but I wanted to talk about this aspect of the shooting in Georgia. And as you heard during the ABC News at the top of the hour, there was another shooting in Maryland. We're a couple of weeks into the school year, and we've had several deaths at high schools already. The one in Maryland was, it seems like not a school shooting, a typical school shooting situation, but an altercation between two high schoolers, and one of them gunned the other one down. Where are the kids getting the guns? That seems to be a reasonable question to ask, regardless of where you're at politically on things like gun control or access to AR-15s. Every rational adult should be able to say, yeah, we maybe want to ask where the kids are getting the guns, because it seems to be easy for them. Well, that's what's at the center of news this week, that 54-year-old father of the 14-year-old shooting suspect in the Georgia Appalachia High School shooting. He appeared in court today and will face multiple murder charges stemming from this week's school shooting in Georgia. The reasons behind it. So this makes me uncomfortable. And I say this as someone who doesn't have teens. But if I were the parent of a teen, and I remember enough being a teen, and I know people who have teens now, and I talk to them regularly, I know they're somewhat what their experience is, and I'm making no excuses here whatsoever for any of these teen school shooters, obviously. But parents don't always have control. Sure, it's their child. And sure, they've raised the child to whatever age the child is, 14, 17, 16, 18. They've been all ages, school shooters. But we all know parents can only do so much. In this specific situation, I'm not as bothered by the murder charges for the father, because it sounds like there was a history. It sounds like there were discussions at the school and outside the school with both parents saying, hey, your child has made threats. Your child has written some eyebrow-raising things on the internet. Law enforcement was involved at a certain point and was actually following up with the family because they felt the child was that big of a risk that the child should not have any access to weapons, to guns of any kind, because of some of the threats that had been made when he was 13 years old, just a year before this, on Discord. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office released information this week that said on Discord he'd been making threats repeatedly against school officials. This was a troubled teen. And then the father, for his birthday this year, bought him an AR-15. That's bad parenting. I'm okay being judgmental in this situation. So I'm okay with the district attorney in Georgia filing these charges against the father, 54-year-old man, Colin Gray is his name. But overall, I'm still uncomfortable with us going in this direction. If there's a clear case of negligence, which might be the situation here from the few details I know, if you know your child has had an issue with threats and even law enforcement is telling you, make sure your child has no access to guns, we think he's a risk. And then you go buy him an AR-15 for his birthday, you're a bad parent. And that said, charging parents for the action, these are minors, so I get it. The parents are adults. I get it. I understand some of the sentiment behind holding parents accountable for something their teens might do. But I think we need to be really careful because, again, parents only have so much control. And I've known great parents who would never buy their at-risk child, after being warned by law enforcement to keep the child away from guns, a gun, that have still had issues with their teens. I know parents that have tried their hardest and again, been great parents. No parent's perfect, obviously. Mine weren't, yours weren't, you aren't now as a parent. That's life. We're human. Your kids aren't perfect either. And we all know that, right? But to hold parents accountable in a situation of gross negligence or absolute irresponsible parenting behavior, like it appears to be the case in this situation, fine, I'm okay. But it makes me nervous to go down this road. I think we should be very careful going down this road because parents can only do so much. Again, I know I grew up with some friends of mine when I was a teen who were horrible kids, always in trouble and sometimes serious trouble. I have a friend that I've known since grade school that was in and out of trouble with law enforcement throughout most of middle school and high school. He finally pulled it together for some reason in college and has had no problems like that since. And has a great family and a great life now. But he was a problematic child. Not problematic in a school shooting kind of way, but problematic in a shoplifting and theft and drug use and drinking. And his parents did everything they could. They were great parents. In hindsight, I can see that. Being his age at the time, we all, your parents are so controlling. But as an adult, I can look back and say his parents tried so hard. They did everything they could to give him every opportunity to get him to turn this around. And they did it in compassionate ways. They weren't harsh. They didn't ship him off to some middle of the nowhere wilderness repair school where he got abused by the counselors. We've all heard those stories, right? None of that happened. His parents were great. They tried so hard. He was just a dork as a 14-year-old. And his parents couldn't control that. In fact, at one point, they asked law enforcement to help, and law enforcement told them, we can't help in that way. We can't force your son to be a good kid. You're trying your hardest, but there's only so much we can do. They basically told the parents, until he commits a crime, we can't step in. And eventually he did, and they did step in, and then he was just in and out of juvenile programs for a few years. His parents distraught and worried about him the whole time, but they were great parents. So again, I'm not saying this to make any excuses for any teenager that has committed a heinous crime like a school shooting at all, obviously. But I think we should be really careful going down the road of holding parents accountable for the actions of their teens entirely. We should keep in mind that the greatest parents who did their absolute best and did a good job, can still have a problematic teen. And sometimes very problematic. We need to keep that in mind. Again, in this case, with this 54-year-old man in Georgia, it appears there was some really gross negligence on his part as a parent. So it doesn't really bother me. I'm not that he's going to be charged with murders because of this school shooting. He bought the kid the gun that the kid used after law enforcement had recommended he not have any guns around the home because they felt his child was high risk for something like this. So he's been charged with murder for, quote, knowingly allowing his son to possess a weapon after law enforcement. Well, and Georgia law also prohibits minors from possessing these weapons, any weapon, including a handgun. But there is no minimum age for a hunting rifle or a shotgun in Georgia, but an AR-15, a handgun, things like that, Georgia law prohibits it. So he clearly broke that law buying this for his son. But he's being charged with murder mainly because the parents had both been told by law enforcement, your child is high risk. We've seen the threats online and in person at schools. This has been going on for a few years. We feel there's a problem here that could get worse. We recommend you have no guns in the home for the child to be around whatsoever. And the dad on his birthday went and bought him an AR-15, which he then used later this year, just this week, to kill some other kids at his high school. I'm okay with the dad being charged with murder in that situation. But again, keep in mind, the best parents, and if you're a parent out there, I hope this is something that you can take to heart yourself if you've got a wayward teen right now. Doing your best sometimes just isn't enough. Some kids are just going to be a problem, and you can do nothing more than keep trying your best and hope they grow out of it. I watched it. I came close to being that teen myself, and my parents were great. So let's keep that in mind as we, process what tragically is a news story we're going to have to deal with again. We know that. Like J.D. Vance said, it's a fact of life in America, and it shouldn't be. We'll be back right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter. Excuse me, Will Feel Right.
Thank you, Jason. The news this hour is brought to you by Bell Medical. A 32-year-old truck driver from Texas has been arrested after trying to meet up for sex with an undercover officer posing as a teenage girl in North Logan, according to law enforcement. Daniel Antonio Mora was booked into the Cache County Jail after driving to a department store and finding police waiting to question him. Now, according to the arrest affidavit, a Logan City police officer received a message from Mora back on August 30th asking to hook up. The officer was posing as a 13-year-old girl online. The suspect reportedly asked the supposed girl to leave school and meet him at the North Logan Walmart. He claimed to have gotten a hotel room across the street. During the messages, Mora sent several photos of himself. One showed him inside a cab of a red semi-truck. Now, on Friday, police set up a perimeter around the North Logan Walmart and observed a truck matching the suspect's park in the parking lot. When the driver exited the cab, he was taken into custody without incident. Now, during questioning at the police department, Mora allegedly confessed to chatting with the undercover officer. He also claimed to have obtained the hotel room through his employer. The court record.
What makes the word America ring with the song that brightens the air? It's people, her people who have done their own thing.
About the 3-digit suicide and crisis lifeline. Now, according to the Utah Department of Health and Human Services administrators, over 700 Utahns died by suicide last year, and that was the second highest number on record after 2022. Research conducted by the Kempsey Gardner Institute in 2020 found that 91% of Utahns reported having a connection to someone who has talked about, attempted, or died by suicide. This year's theme for 988 Day is No Judgment, Just Help. Of course, that's going to be the theme coming up tomorrow during the Ignite the Light concert and celebration that'll be taking place at the Cache County Fairgrounds. It all gets underway at 4 o'clock with fun family activities and then also resource booths, a luminary walk, food trucks, and more. Motivational speaker Mike Schloppy and then the Cole Hartley Band will be headlining tomorrow night's concert. And again, it's all free at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Well, high school football coming up tonight. You've got Logan traveling to Skyview as the Grizzlies will be taking on the Bobcats. That'll start at 7 o'clock here on KVNU. Meanwhile, Bear River's at Mountain Crest. Green Canyon will host Westfield, and Ridgeline hosts Cedar Valley. Up north, you have Preston at Star Valley. Westside is hosting Fremont, and then Box Elder is at Northridge. Well, overall, it's going to be nice weather for high school football tonight as we'll have clear skies. Temperatures were in the high 80s today, and tonight we'll drop into the mid to low 50s. Tomorrow we'll hit the low 90s before Sunday back into the high 80s, and it looks like it's going to stay in the high 80s for Monday before we'll start to see an increased chance of rain through the rest of the week. I'm Will Feelright for KVNU News.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. President Biden back in the battleground state of Michigan. He told union workers in Ann Arbor today a vote for his vice president. Kamala Harris is a vote for union jobs.
Every single Republican in your delegation voted against protecting those pensions. Every single one. No, I'm serious. Not a joke. Everyone.
He also signed an executive order which he says will prioritize federal grants for projects with higher worker wages and benefits. Another Cheney plans to vote for Harris. Former Vice President Dick Cheney says there's never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. Sentencing in Mr. Trump's criminal hush money case has been pushed from September 18th to November 26th. Judge Juan Marchand says he's seeking to avoid any appearance that he's trying to affect the upcoming election. Boeing's troubled Starliner capsules headed back to Earth, leaving 2 astronauts it took there months ago at the International Space Station. This is ABC News.
Roof Rescue is your local roof specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
Breaking news, stimulating talk. News Talk, KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
This is Branch Office Administrator Bobby Vodrero bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Clayton McMurdy and Edward Jones. Stocks closed lower on growth concerns. NASDAQ and the Magnificent Seven stocks led stocks lower on Friday after the mixed jobs report triggered concerns that the Fed is behind the curve in cutting rates. The NASDAQ is again in correction territory, but remains above its low in early August as economic data released since then still point to an ongoing expansion. All sectors were lower on the day, with communication services and consumer discretionary stocks leading to the downside. In global markets, Asia and Europe are closed lower. The U.S. dollar advanced versus major currencies. In the commodity space, WTI oil declined, reaching a new low for the year, and gold also traded lower. Today, U.S. equities closed lower. The Dow closed down 410 points. The NASDAQ closed down 437 points. The S&P 500 closed down 95 points, and in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 3.72% lower by negative 0.01 percentage points. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Clayton McMurdy, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1309 North Main in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch office at 435-753-0537. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Hey drivers, let's face it, driving can be challenging. From heavy traffic to bad weather, there's always something that keeps us on our toes. Driving is challenging, but car insurance doesn't have to be. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, an Alera Group company. As an independent auto owner's insurance agency, we work with top-notch carriers to find the best coverage and the best price. Whether you're a seasoned driver or just starting out, Quality First has your back. 435-752-0101.
Join us at the Nora Eccles Harrison Museum of Art on Saturday, September 7th at 5 p.m. for a special event. We'll start with a free screening of Paño Arte, Images from the Inside, a documentary about Chicano prison art. After the film, there will be conversation with the curator and other experts. Then enjoy a reception with music and refreshments as you explore the Arte Paño exhibition, showcasing over 70 artworks by Latin artists from the American penal system. This event is free and open to all. For more details, visit artmuseum.usu.edu.
What makes the word America ring with the song that rises the air? It's people, her people who have done their own thing with blood, sweat, and tears and a prayer.
Welcome back to KVN News for the people.
Louis
Armstrong on a golden trumpet. Marian Anderson singing the Lord's Prayer. The savage power of Jack
I forgot that he did this stuff. Anyway, I'm actually playing that for a reason, because this song by John Wayne is about people and how, it's not presidents or congressmen and women or United States senators or state lawmakers or law enforcement leaders, or, it's everybody, those people and everyone else. And I won't get off on this high horse too much, but I feel that it's time for the public to kind of send a message to our state legislature. Every day this week, it's gotten a bit worse on this front, as the Speaker of the House, Mike Schultz, and Senate President Stuart Adams are feeling very picked on, I think. But it's their fault. And I think, so this all centers around these constitutional amendments. There are 4 of them proposed on your ballot this fall. Yes, you heard me right. 4 constitutional amendments. These aren't just bills. These aren't just, these are permanent changes to our state constitution. 4 of them proposed by lawmakers in 1 year. And this is after amending the asking us to allow them to amend the Constitution every 2 years for the last 12. It's too much. And each one of these amendments, for the most part, is asking us to give lawmakers more power. And I feel like, now there are times when that's appropriate. One amendment, for example, Amendment C. So absolutely, if you want a quick cheat sheet from me, vote no on Amendment A and D. If you want to send a message to the state legislature, hey, your ego's gotten a bit big and people get to weigh in here too, the people of Utah. It's not just the Senate president and the Speaker of the House that get to decide things. The courts get to decide things. The governor gets to decide things. And this Constitution of the state says people get to weigh in too through the ballot initiative process. This offends lawmakers. It always has. They've made it very difficult, which I'm supportive of, to get a ballot initiative to happen. I like that it's difficult. It shouldn't be easy, because direct democracy is messy in a whole different way, because people change their minds all the time and get swept up in political campaigns or what's popular of the day. So long-term planning is impossible in direct democracy. That's where a siloed legislature and bureaucracy can actually be good things. It slows things down, right? But the point is, this all works because there is balance. Well, lawmakers want to tip the balance. They want to take power away from the courts. They've signaled that. They've already taken most of the power away from the governor's office. They've gotten no opposition, and nobody's lost an election for them doing that. Now they want to take the people's power away. They want to make it be a constitutional amendment so that they can completely ignore the voters if the voters get a ballot initiative on the ballot, which requires hundreds of thousands of signatures from all around the state, at least 26 of the 29 counties, and then it has to be approved by voters in an election, a vote on the ballot. If you do that, I think you've got a pretty good case to make that the voters support this, and lawmakers want to be able to ignore that entirely if they disagree, like they did on medical marijuana, like they did on independent redistricting, on Medicaid expansion. So this has been a thorn in the don't you know who we are leadership of the state legislature for several years now, and they're finally making their move, and they're doing it with Amendment D. And to sweeten it, they've added some very cynical things they think will make you vote for this to what they really want, which is more power. So I'm saying, and they did that with Amendment A as well, which also gives them more power to spend your taxpayer dollars. So I'm saying Amendment A and D definitely need to go down to send a message. Hey, you're out over your skis. Your ego's gotten a bit big, and you've got to remember we're here. An example of an amendment on your ballot, I'm still saying vote against them all, because we shouldn't be amending the state constitution this often and this easily. So I'd like to see voters shoot all 4 down to say, no, stop it. Take this up in the legislative process. Have public debates. Have public votes. That's what the legislative process is for. Don't try to gain more power through the permanent amendment process. Just don't. We're doing it too much. It's dangerous. So I'd like to see all four go down for that. But an example, just to show I'm being fair, Amendment C is one that I can't get very upset about. Now, it's just a political thing, so it's unnecessary, I think. It's redundant, actually. But if people want to enshrine the election of sheriffs into the state constitution, don't have a problem with it. Maybe it's even a good idea. This comes from a conspiracy theory, actually. There was a movement a couple of years ago, when this was first voted on to be on the ballot this year, that people were claiming that there was a movement to make it so sheriffs were appointed so that the government could stack the deck with the sheriffs and then do their big takeover. This has been... Conspiracy theorists have been warning about this for decades. And believe me, if they ever do that, it's not going to be through the sheriff's offices. But if people feel better, fine. It's already written in state code that sheriffs are elected here in Utah. Amendment C just says, okay, we're putting that in the Constitution. So a future legislature can't change election law and make it so sheriffs are appointed. It's now in the state constitution that sheriffs will have to be elected. Again, I feel that's unnecessary and even redundant and built on a conspiracy theory, but it doesn't hurt anything. My problem is we're doing this too often. Entirely. So that brings us to today. I posted it on our Facebook page, but Better Boundaries, the group behind the original independent redistricting ballot initiative, which was successful, created an independent commission. Former State Senator Lyle Hilliard was on it. Congressman Rob Bishop was involved in it. And then the legislature just completely ignored their work and passed their own redistricting map, which was highly gerrymandered. That's what started all this. Better Boundaries sued. The state Supreme Court said, you're right, the state legislature can't ignore you because this is a constitutionally enshrined power of the people to make law via ballot initiative. The legislature responded by saying, all right, we'll change the Constitution to make it so we can ignore voters when they approve a ballot initiative. And that's literally what they're asking you to do with Amendment D. And there's a campaign that's launched already called D stands for deception, which I think is apt. So Better Boundaries sued on another front this week. They're asking the Supreme Court to weigh in, saying the ballot language written by the Senate President and Speaker of the House, Stuart Adams and Mike Schultz, is deceptive. And it is. I talked about it yesterday on the show. It is extremely deceptive. Today, the Speaker of the House and Senate President, Stuart Adams and Mike Schultz, responded to the lawsuit with more dishonesty. They wrote in a joint statement today, it's ironic that the very people who claim to advocate for greater voter engagement are the same ones trying to obstruct Utahns from having the opportunity to vote on this important matter. The plaintiffs are clearly concerned about leaving it to voters to decide before initiatives overwhelm our state, significantly altering our state. Utahns should have the opportunity to voice their opinions. This is so dishonest. The lawsuit is not trying to stop this from being on the ballot. Lawmakers have already voted to do that, and everybody agrees they have the right to do that. Ironically, because that's also a constitutionally protected power for them, which they want to take away one from you on a similar front. What Better Boundaries sued for was to get them to write honest ballot language. Their statement today doesn't mention that. I've covered the legislature in some form for 20 years. And I have never seen this level of dishonesty from legislative leadership. I don't know what is up, but man, is it weird. We'll be back right after this.
If you're near retirement or thinking about retiring, you probably have questions. How do you make your savings last? How much should you take out and when? You're ready for retirement, but are your finances? Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help you build a strategy to help your finances keep up with your long-term needs. You've done what it takes to get there. Now it's time to make the most of retirement. Call one of our 11 branch locations in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Happy birthday, Bell Medical. For 8 years, we have had the privilege of helping people feel confident and love their bodies. To celebrate, we're offering a special on our Bell Sculpt 360 procedure for only $4,800. And for those looking to enhance their transformation, you can bundle it with a mini tuck for $9,500. Slim down, sculpt your body, and boost your confidence. We've helped thousands of patients feel their best, and we'd love to do the same for you. Let's celebrate together. Schedule your free consultation today at bellmedical.com. That's BELLE medical.com.
From all of us at Back at Work Physical Therapy, we're honored to be named the silver winner for Best Physical Therapy in the 2024 Best of Northern Utah. It's all thanks to our incredible team and loyal patients and providers. Thank you.
Couple of texts from listeners here. One listener, regular listener, apparently said, "You said yesterday you weren't going to rant about this again until Monday." I know. I didn't expect the Speaker of the House and the Senate President to put out a statement basically misconstruing what the lawsuit filed by Better Boundaries is this week. Yeah. Like I say, I've never seen this from the state legislature. I've seen lawmakers, individual lawmakers, take liberties and stretch the truth before. I have never seen the Senate President and the House Speaker be outright dishonest. And I wrapped up before the break there. I said, I don't know what's going on, but it's weird. Listener chimes in and said, I can tell you what's going on. A court told them they couldn't do something, and they're mad. They're having a tantrum. Yeah, I mean, it really does appear to be the case. I hope voters are paying attention. There's only a few weeks in this election left, and you'll have to decide how you're going to vote on 4 different constitutional amendments proposed by state lawmakers, which is too many on one ballot, and we're doing this far too often and too easily. We shouldn't be amending the Constitution every time legislative leadership gets a wild hair. All right, For the People movie show is next. We're going to be doing a fall preview. There's actually quite a bit coming starting next weekend, from an animated Transformers to Lupita Nyong'o in The Wild Robot, which just looks cool. We'll talk about it all on the For the People movie show, which is next here on KVNU Logan.